Today we're going to create an asymmetrical balancing cardboard sculpture. Now the reason why we're doing this is because, remember, balance is the first principle of design. And balance in art means the equal distribution of either visual elements on a picture plane or weight in a sculpture. And there's two ways that artists can balance. They can either use symmetry meaning when the visuals are the exact same on the other side as the other, except flipped to be a mirror image, or they can use asymmetry. Asymmetry means the object or the picture is not the same on either side. In fact, they're a bit uneven. So our challenge today is to create an asymmetrical sculpture that still balances. And this is a really fun game because it's a little bit of a trial and error, meaning you're going to have to try to add pieces to it to make it not fall over. And the tricky thing is, if you make any slight changes, those slight changes might make your sculpture tip over. So, in order to do this lesson, let's go over the materials. Okay, the supplies that you're going to need to do this lesson are, you're going to need a long cardboard tube like a paper towel roll, and you're also going to need two very sturdy, strong pieces of thick cardboard, about 5 inches by 5 inches. If it's a little bit bigger, that's fine. If it's a little bit smaller, that's fine, but around that size. We're going to use one of these cardboard pieces and the tube to be our base, but you're going to also use the second piece of cardboard to start creating the different little shapes that we're going to put on either side of our next supply that we need, which is a skewer. If you don't have a skewer, you can use either a chopstick or any sort of stick, but a skewer works best because it's really long and thin. You're also going to need some thin cardboard, either from cereal boxes or snack boxes. Any sort of cardboard that's a little bit easier to cut is ideal. That's going to be for all, again, the different sort of shapes and elements you're going to add to your skewer to balance. If you have just the boxes, in order to create different pieces of the thin cardboard, what you can do is get out your next supply that you need, which is your scissors. Find a corner or an edge of your cereal box or snack box and just cut along the folded edges, just like that, so that you get one unfolded, totally sturdy piece of cardboard. So anytime there is an edge that's been folded, you can just cut that off so you have some pure, unfolded pieces of thin cardboard to work with. Okay, once you have a stack of those, you're also going to need some tape to tape all your different pieces together. So again, the two thick cardboard pieces, paper towel roll, skewer, scissors, tape, and a stack of that thin cardboard to play around with. Okay, our first step that we're going to do is we're going to create the foundational base of our balancing sculpture. So what you're going to do is find that paper towel roll, okay? And what you can do is find one end. What we're going to do is put 4 slits on the top, the bottom, and the 2 sides. Okay, so just a small slit about 1/2 inch cut into your cardboard at the top, at the bottom, right below it, on the side, and then on the other side. So north, south, east, west. Now that we have those slits, you're going to bend back the cardboard to create a tab. And you're going to do that to each area where we made the slits. So bend back each one of these. You should have 4 tabs all together at the bottom. Then we're going to take one piece of that sturdy cardboard, and we're going to find the center of the sturdy cardboard. We're going to lay down our tube onto the center. And then once we've kind of laid it down, we're going to take that tape and we're going to put tape over each one of these tabs, taping the tab to the sturdy piece of cardboard on the base. So you can get out a long piece of cardboard, find one tab on one side and lay that long piece of tape over your tab, sticking it down on top of that sturdy cardboard. Make sure that your piece of tape is longer than the tab so that the sticky side actually touches the sturdy piece of cardboard. We're going to do that to each one of these tabs. So I'm going to get out another long piece of tape. Stick that tape on the tab, attaching it to the base. Another long piece of tape attaching it to my base, and my last one right here. Okay, now give your tube a wiggle test. If it feels wiggly, like it still is not very much attached, that means you just need to add more tape. But if it's pretty sturdy, then you're A-okay. I'm just gonna add a couple pieces of tape from my tube to the base just to be safe. So if you're just a little bit nervous that it's not gonna be sturdy, you can just add a couple more pieces of tape from your tube down to the sturdy piece of cardboard, and that should make it very, very much stuck on. Okay, so now we have our long tube attached to our base. What we're gonna do is the other end of our tube, what we're gonna do is we're just going to pinch that tube in half so that one side meets the other in a nice horizontal line. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna tape those two sides together. So what I like to do is I like to take the tape and do it across horizontally first, attaching those two pieces, kind of like stitches, like that. And then I might put one going vertically across the slit as well, just to really make sure that these two sides are stuck together. Okay, nice. Should come to almost like a point at the top. Okay, so what we're gonna do is find the halfway point of the tube where we taped it together. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our scissors and we're gonna cut out a tiny little triangle. So at the middle point, you can cut a tiny little diagonal incision. Again, it doesn't have to be too big, maybe like 1/4 of an inch. And we're gonna cut diagonally the other way to just cut out a small little triangular wedge shape at the top. This little wedge is where we're going to put our skewer to balance it. Just like that. Now we don't have our shapes on our skewer yet, but you can already tell that the skewer is going to fit into that little wedge and be able to balance. Whoop. All right, so now that we have the base of our sculpture, let's start creating the shapes that will go on either side of our skewer to make it balance out. And again, we are going to make this asymmetrical, meaning the shapes do not have to be the same on either side. They can be different. But in order for you to make sure that at least the weight is about the same, here's what we can do. We can get out that sturdy piece of cardboard. Again, each side should be about 5 inches If it's a little bit more or less, that's okay. But what we're gonna do is we are going to cut this piece of cardboard in half. So either you can measure it out or you can just eyeball it to see where the approximate halfway point is, and you're just going to cut that cardboard in half so that one side is the same as the other, just like that. And what I might do is I might cut this into one larger piece and one smaller piece. But again, I want them to be about the same. So whatever I did on this half, I want the same size cut on the other one. So I'm gonna take the one that I just cut from this side, I'm gonna line it up and cut it on this side. Awesome. So what I might do is I'm gonna create sort of organic shapes out of these pieces, but I want them to be around the same weight. So what I can do is just cut sort of rounded piece off of each one, about the same amount. And then I might cut, again, just rounding off the pieces from here. I might do the same here. Just making sure that the weight of this one is still about the same as the other one. And I might do the same over here. I might make this an organic shape like that. Take whatever I've cut off and do the same thing to the other side. Cool. All right, so once you have the shapes that you want, and they're like at least a little bit similar to the ones right next to it, here's what we're gonna do. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to find the pointy end of your skewer, and we are going to stick our shapes through the skewer through our shapes so that it will stick on. So notice that the corrugation of the cardboard, these little lines, are going horizontally, and on the side there's these little holes where I can put my skewer through. So find an area where you want to put your skewer. It can be at the top, it can be in the middle, it can be at the bottom, whatever you want. And I'm just gonna put the pointy part of my skewer through that hole. It goes like a tunnel all the way through, and I can just move one shape all the way to the other end. Then find my bigger shape of the same set, and I could do the same thing. If your shape is too big, if it's too wide, but the corrugation is going in the other direction, you can try to stick it through the opposite way of the corrugation, but it's just gonna be a little bit more difficult. But I'm gonna just try it out by sticking it through, even though the corrugation is going through the other side. Just gonna use my art muscles and push it all the way through. Nice. So I have this one going somewhat horizontally, but I want mine to be asymmetrical on the other side. So maybe I'll make my next shape go horizontally. Just having a bit slightly different. Going across. And then last but not least, I'm gonna find that last shape and stick it through it as well. Just having it on the end. Beautiful. Okay, so I have my big shapes going through my skewer. What I want to do is I want to shift some of the shapes over to leave a space of the skewer showing through down the middle, okay? And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that tower that we just created, I'm gonna put my skewer on the little notch, and I'm going to just let go. I'm gonna try to have it be centered in the middle. I'm gonna let go, see if it balances. Woo! I see that it's slightly tipping over to one side. So what I can do is try to push the skewer over to the other side slightly so that it balances. If it's really tipping over, you can even move your shapes closer to the center or further away from the center to try to adjust the weight distribution. So let's see if this works. I slightly moved one of my shapes over and just, whoa, nope, it's tipping over. So again, it's trial and error, meaning you're just gonna have to try to adjust by moving your shapes ever so slightly, having it try to balance in the middle, and have it not tip over is the goal. I'm gonna move this shape over again, just a little bit. Amazing. All right. Wah! It's so fun. There we go. All right, so it looks like it's balancing. So what I'm going to try to do now that this is balanced, I'm going to try to attach different shapes onto these larger shapes with my thin cardboard. But again, I'm going to try to keep them so that it balances, which is difficult to do, but it's fun to do because it's a great guessing game and a game of trial and error. So with our thin cardboard, just like how we did our thicker pieces of cardboard, the best thing to do is find the halfway point of your thin cardboard by either folding it in half or measuring it out and having one half be designated for one side and the other half designated for the other side. So again, I might fold these so I know the halfway points, cut along the halfway point, and then I can create different shapes, but have them be slightly the same weight. Okay, so now I have these couple of shapes. I might make just an organic shape out of this one. And I might do that to the other side too. Doesn't matter if they're exactly the same or not. I might have different shapes here, organic shape here, just cutting them kind of in half. But having the weight of each one be the same as the other side. There. Okay, so now I have different shapes that I can add. These shapes are designated for this half. These shapes are designated for this half. I'm gonna go into warp speed to just tape these shapes onto the different parts of each side. By just taking my pieces of tape, finding anywhere where I want it to hang, and fully taping it on one side and maybe flipping it over and attaching it to the other side. Having this pile be designated for one half, the other pile designated for other half. All right, I'm gonna go into warp speed to show you how I do it. Okay, so now I have my two piles of the cardboard that I made, the different shapes, taped on to my heavier shapes on either side. Remember, I tried to make these shapes that were on this half the same weight as the ones on this half. So even though the design of it is asymmetrical, meaning the shapes on either side are different, the weight distribution should be about the same. Now let's do it the ultimate test. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that center part of my skewer, I'm going to put it on the little wedge of my cardboard, and I'm going to see if it balances out. Uh-oh, if it's tipping over, remember we can shift over some of the shapes to be slightly more on one side than the other. See if that helps. Wow, and it's balancing. Now, the more you add on to either side, the more challenging it's going to be to keep it balanced. But the fun part, hopefully it's fun for you, is that we can, through trial and error, play the game. What else can we add to it and have it still balance out? Okay, friends, well, I hope that you have fun and are not frustrated with this lesson. Again, it's kind of like a game. So I hope that yours is very different from mine and you use your creativity to create something even different from mine. And I hope you have fun doing it. Can't wait to see yours.